So good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. We are going to review a drawing that Jeff has come up with regarding the new Council on Aging space. So the purpose of today's meeting is to talk about the Council on Aging space. So I know there's other information in this drawing, but I just wanted to review that we're kind of stay focused on the Council on Aging piece. So Jeff, if you want to share your screen, and I will have you take over from here.
Sure. Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Very
Yes.
good. Excellent. So the purpose of our work here was to take a look at how much space would be required for the Council on Aging. And once we determined approximately how much space they would need, then we looked at how would that space lay out in a project that incorporated the same site as the existing or the former town hall, the former police station. Considering the fact that the amount of square footage required for the Council on Aging is about 10,000 square feet, a little bit less than that. And the amount of square footage that we had previously determined in a prior study for the town hall was approximately equal to that. We felt a two-story building could accomplish the goal of combining the two on this site. And I think our initial challenge was, can we fit the building, the parking needs, and everything the town would want on this site, or is that too ambitious? So we, together with Tracy and Cindy, we put together an option that sort of tested that concept. So this site plan that you see in front of you is the footprint of a building. You can kind of see the gray area here. That's the building shape. High Street's on the left and Morgan Ave is on the bottom. And we also indicated where the parking lots would be, so sort of ringing the site. And then in these dashed lines, that shows you where the existing building is located. So you can see that's roughly a square shape, sort of in the middle of the site. So in terms of how much space would it take up, and I should preface this by saying that the size of this building is roughly 19,000 square feet between the two floors. And so the first step was to determine, will it fit on the site? So yes, the building will fit on the site. You can see in light gray, I've outlined the setbacks required on site, so the building can sit within the zoning setbacks, and it does fit. There is space for parking around the building. The requirements from the planning ordinance are up here in this text box. Because of the town offices, how much space that would require 20 parking spots, and the Council on Aging required 25 parking spots. There are approximately 36 parking spots that can fit on the site, and next door with the fire station, 10 spots are available. So planning documents allow that this project can use the 10 spots from the fire station site to meet its requirements. So you'd have approximately 46 spots available. And that's sort of on the technical side of things, that it would technically meet the planning requirements. Sorry, did I see someone with a question? Mike, did you have a question? I think you're muted.
Well, I'm sorry, Mike Doyle. One of my concerns is, having lived on the street for 26 years, having had a drugstore there 10 years before that, the street is now very busy, number one. But number two, if we do this, when we have a fire, we get all kinds of cars coming in because they're called firemen.
Right.
So if we got 10 people parked at the council, from the selectmen, from the town hall office over the board, there's not gonna be parking there. And I can show you pictures of this year where we had a fire on the island, and we had the construction going on next door, and there was no place for the firemen to park. And that's my first big concern about parking at the fire station.
Sure.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's an important consideration. I mean, I think this as an initial study is sort of just meant to understand what are the implications of doing this proposal. And I think that's a legitimate concern. Do you have enough space for the uses to all sort of occur at the same time, knowing that you can't predict when a fire is going to happen. You can't predict when people need to show up
Right,
at the fire station.
exactly.
The so that's important to note. What you see here on this plan with these little arrows indicate the entrance and exits to the building. So the main entrance would be facing Morgan. There'd be a private exit, and I'll explain this in the floor plan, that exits into this patio area with some landscaping, vegetation around it, and then a rear exit, mostly for service, trash, recycling, that sort of thing, backside of the building. And then finally on the site plan, I just want to address the grading. We know the site is sloped, and in general, the topography goes up from roughly Morgan Ave, where the fire station is, around the site to High Street, and then keeps going up till you get to this driveway here. And the highest part of the site is roughly in this region. I'd call it the northwest corner of the site. Because of that, we would need to build a retaining wall in the back to access this service area. So that, because you need to access that on grade with the first floor, but we would be able to control the grading such that a lot of windows would still be available on the first floor in this half of the plan. And I'll show that when I show the floor plan, so you can understand what windows would go into what rooms. But because of the grade going up, it does present some complexities on the site in the back corner. However, the grade does not rise steeply enough to allow us to access the second floor of this facility from the outside. We'd have to access the second floor from the interior of the building. As you all well know, the existing building has stairs that you can access from grade on the outside to get to the second floor. And then the first floor has an entrance, at the lower level. Because that building is such a tight floor to floor height, very, very shallow floor to floor height, that is possible. But in this building, considering the types of spaces we would have on the first floor, it wouldn't be feasible without a significant amount of ramping and stairs and accessibility improvements. And that would just really eat up into the site space, but it would also make the exterior of the building look terrible because you'd have to go up about 6 or 7 feet. So that's the site plan. I'm going to jump into the first floor plan next. And I apologize for all the arrows here, but it's sort of a conceptual sketch of the first floor plan. The first floor of this building is dominated by the Council on Aging. There is space for a vault for the town on the first floor, but the majority of it is Council on Aging. This would also house the elevator and stairs you would need to access to get up to the second floor, which would be the town offices. As I explained before, at the bottom here is the main entry to the building. There would be a covering, an awning, essentially a roof, that would allow you into a vestibule, a stair that takes you upstairs to the town hall portions, and then doors into the reception area of the Council on Aging. And you'd have your elevator, which is this box with an X in it, and you'd have the front desk reception area of the Council on Aging area. And of course, there's many more details to be planned once the design actually gets started. But in concept, there would be the administration area on the right, coordinators' offices, director's office, and then some of the activity rooms all in purple surrounding that. The lounge area, which, as I explained before, has a private exit to that patio on the side, possibly a fireplace in the middle there, entrance to a fitness room or a multi-purpose space, entrance to an art room space, mostly set up for art, both of them have storage associated with it. Off this corridor, there'd be space for coats to be hung, 2 large bathrooms in the middle, men's and women's rooms. and a family or accessory toilet here for companion sized, so basically a larger toilet area. Storage room for the building for multiple activities there. And then off to the side, the main large multi-purpose room, size for approximately up to 100 people, and storage rooms associated with that for all the equipment that might be needed in that space, as well as access to the kitchen, serving area, a pantry, and then from the pantry into the mechanical electrical area. In the back of the building, custodian's office, trash and recycling, as I said before, the back stair with an egress to the back area that's sunken in the ground with a retaining wall. That's mostly for service. So next to the pantry, trash, recycling, all that. And the vault that I mentioned before for the town offices. The multi-purpose room, because of its size and need for hosting as many people as might be in that space, you need a second means of egress. So that's why this arrow exists here. There'd be another doorway that you can egress out in the case of an emergency. As I explained before, because the grade slopes up from what I'll call sort of the director's office across the bottom and then up the side, we would start to get into position at the back end of the building where we would not have very good light into these spaces. So that's why a lot of these spaces in the back corner are spaces that don't normally need windows, like the vault, mechanical rooms, kitchen, storage rooms. But from this point down, we would have the grade low enough that those windows would bring in quite a bit of light. It wouldn't be a small basement window. It would be a reasonably good sized window with the sills probably 3 to 4 feet off the ground. So a lot of light could be brought into the room here, depending on how the room wants to be set up for AV and events. So that's the basic setup. It's really compact and gets you all the space that you would need with a minimum amount of wasted circulation and other space. As I said before, it's conceptual at this point. So there isn't any, real detail yet into exactly how the layout would work, with the furniture exactly would go. Although when we did the programming, we did identify what furnishings would go in the spaces so that we could determine roughly what size the spaces would need to be. So you can see I've labeled the space sizes, and for the most part, they follow the program pretty closely. I don't think we want to get into it, but on the second floor, we do have a layout for the town offices as well. And then that sort of uses the stairs and elevators where they exist here. So Cindy and Tracy, did you want me to talk about anything else in detail, or do you want to turn it over to questions at this point?
Tracy, do you have anything? Because I just have some questions.
I don't.
Okay. So one of our expansion committee members couldn't make it today, so she had emailed me a few questions. So Jeff, if I could just run through those.
Sure.
The first one is, how is the parking set up and flow of traffic in and out, which I think you pretty much stated the parking is these white spaces around.
Right.
And then as far as the entry and exit, one is onto Morgan Ave, is that correct?
Yeah, so the main entry here is at Morgan, and we just drew in some pathways that suggest how it could be configured, and you'd have handicap parking, at least 2 spots. You probably would maybe want to expand that to more handicap parking spots, but you'd have priority access to the entrance here. And then, for the most part, this area would be two-way travel. So you could pull in off of Morgan and also exit onto Morgan. But in this area of parking along the north side, you could only exit onto High Street. So, once you got to this area, you'd have to exit out. You can't turn around and come back this way. And that mainly is due to the fact that we needed to, this gets a little tight up here on space, and we didn't have enough space to do a 2-way travel lane.
So that area way to the back then looks like another, right there where you're.
This area.
Yeah.
So that's
What
an
is that?
existing part of the fire station. So we need to maintain access to this area in the fire station. There's a garage entry, some doors back here. So this is mainly to keep them functional
Okay.
in the back.
All right, another question she had was, is there some type of access to the building for those with wheelchairs? I'm assuming that front entryway is all, whether there's a ramp or whatnot, it's easily accessible.
Yeah, so there is no ramps associated with the building. Everything is on grade. You can
Okay.
roll right in, no steps or anything. Obviously, getting up to the second floor require the use of the elevator.
Okay. Her next question, how is the waiting room accessed from the consult office? So it
Yeah.
looks like based on these arrows, it's from the lounge.
Yeah, so I forgot to point that out. We do have a consultation room here. There could be an entrance for the specialist through the administrative offices, but for all the guests coming in, you go through the waiting room here and then into the consultation office.
Okay, her other two questions was what is the vault, which I know is for storage for town documents, correct?
Correct. Yep.
And then is there an outside area, which is what you've addressed in that?
Yep.
Yep. Right there, surrounded by the,
Yeah, so this would be the only real outside area that's directly accessible adjacent to the building.
okay. We don't know how big that spot is?
It's about 50 to 60 feet long by 20 feet, 25 feet deep,
Okay,
about 800 square feet or so.
okay. I think others had some questions.
Okay, sure. Janine?
So all business, anybody going to town hall is going to have to access and come through the Council on Aging door?
Yeah, so the way it would work is you certainly could have access. This door would be open at the front, and you certainly could have access directly up from the stair. If you wanted to climb the stairs, you wouldn't have to go into Council on Aging. But if you wanted to use the elevator, you would have to go into the Council on Aging reception area and call the elevator at that point.
Okay.
Jeff, can I have questions?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Okay, let me just get my notes real quickly. Hold on. So 3 things. Since the pandemic, okay, the butchery, which is gonna be across the street, their business has increased 200%. Okay? People didn't want to go to the malls, people are going to small stores, and they did a good job with keeping people safe. So with that said, okay, I'm wicked concerned about traffic, number 1. Number 2, the neighborhood concerns, okay? We all got together for Easter, and one of the concerns is we just got through 5 o'clock in the morning, 4:30 deliveries, noise in the morning, doing a project. We're not ready for another project right now. I'm just sorry to say, but it's like, it's going to be really tough in the neighborhood because I'm sure it's going to affect the entrance somewhat to the street. Okay. The street's going to have trucks on it. They're going to be parking things down there. Okay. Up our way again. And I'm saying, it's like, we just went through almost 2 years. Okay. No, I'm sorry. Yes. A year ago, January, year and 4 months, 5 months of, I had people showing up here at 4:30 in the morning and having the radios on. It's not a problem in the winter, but the summertime, when you get your windows open, it was a problem. We got rats, okay, which was never dealt with properly, but the whole neighborhood. It was not an easy transition, and the neighborhood's not ready. I'm just putting that on the table. The next thing, one of the things that shut down the gas station in Byfield was traffic patterns. I want to see the traffic patterns because I'm telling you, this whole corner is different. And now we got the police station farther down the street. We've got a steady parade of police cars coming through all the time now too. And the last question real quickly, what would an estimate, I'm not holding, what would a cost per square foot for this building be? How much are we talking? Thank you.
Sure. I'm not sure how many of those I can answer, Tracy, in terms of the questions about the neighborhood and whether the timing of the project and all that sort of stuff. The cost per square foot question is a little bit more in my wheelhouse. we don't have an estimate, a real cost estimate with a cost estimator because we're way too early on that at this point. We're just,
But
doing-
you must have a ballpark.
Yeah, I'm getting there. I just want to make sure you understood that we didn't
Right,
actually. do a real takeoff.
I'm not holding it. I just want to get a ballpark what we're talking.
Yeah, so we did reach out to a cost estimator and said, for a new building on this site, 2 stories, roughly the type of construction we're doing. And he gave us a ballpark today, 2021, spring of 2021 is 475 to 525 per square foot.
So what would that, just real quickly, with the amount of square foot you gave me, what's that come out to for the building?
I got my calculator here, hold on.
Thank you. I don't have one on the outside.
Around 9 to 10 million.
Okay, thank you very much.
That, just so you know, that's construction cost only.
Right, exactly. Okay, thank you. Thanks you.
Sure. Evelyn, did you have a question?
I do. Okay, since we're on that cost subject, what would be the, you've given us a range of 475 to 525. What would be the cost for the OPM and the architect then?
Probably too early to tell at this point. Typically, probably somewhere, typically about 8 to 9% is the architectural fees. OPM fees are somewhere around 3%. But those will end up getting negotiated with whoever's selected to do the work. There's not a lot of range in those fees. They tend to be fairly tightly grouped.
Okay. I guess I think Janine asked the question about the main entrance. So how many people would you estimate would be going in that main entrance at any given time?
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say it's really hard to, it's such a wide range, right? Because depending on the time of day and what the events are for that day, I'd probably sort of ask Cindy to opine on what she thinks the Council on Aging might have in terms of a sort of daytime versus, event style operations. I know we've designed the multi-purpose room for approximately 100 people. We've designed the fitness room, the art room for about 20 people each. And it really depends on the schedule and the amount of activities I'd say that this Council on Aging was intending to operate with. And considering it's going to be quite a bit different than what you have now, I'd say we are speculating a little bit.
Right. Well, and with the town hall, with the personnel at the town hall accessing that same entrance, what would be the guess?
Town hall's a little bit easier to predict, mainly because the business hours have a much more straightforward attendance, and then the amount of meetings that they have, hearings and things like that, are predictable per week. But I would also clarify that there's no reason why staff and the public couldn't use the other stair. I did refer to it sort of as a back stair, but both stairs would be accessible to people during normal business hours. Obviously, the main entry is probably where most of the public would come through. I expect staff would probably also use the back stair. And maybe Tracy, you want to speak to the occupancy load?
Yeah, that's what I.
Tracy, I think you're muted.
Yeah, we could certainly direct people to the alternative entrance if necessary, even though we have to have that available as handicapped accessible. But, it's very unusual for us to have more than, I would say, 3 people in the building at a time. And since COVID, a lot of people have been directed to online services, the availability of transactions online. So I'm going to be really interested to see what we get for traffic when we fully reopen our buildings, if people will continue using the online transactions or if they'll be coming back into town hall like they used to. But I don't necessarily see see it creating, a significant amount of people entering the building at the same time.
Okay, well, since you're available right now, Tracy, as far as, could you tell me how many parking spaces are used by the town hall on Kent Way right now?
I would say, just off the top of my head without counting, I'd say probably 13 or 14. Inspectional services do come in and out periodically, so that may add another car here and there. They don't spend the entire day physically in the building. So I would say about that.
Okay, and I heard that there was not enough parking for the police department. Is it conceivable that they would need the 10 at the fire station?
I don't know who you heard that from, but I've not heard that. I don't know if any of the select board members have.
No, I have
Okay.
not.
I have
I've
not
not
heard, I have also being across the street, I have never seen the parking lot full. Okay, so
Yeah,
I don't think that's the case, Evelyn, really.
and I did,
Okay.
Selectman Doyle, I also did want to mention to your point about where we've noted 10 spaces at the fire station. It actually was 5 at the fire station and 5 at the police station, parking nose to nose. And those would be newly created parking spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
I have a quick
And-
question. I'm not
Wait a
sure if
minute, I'm not
I'm-
through,
I'm
Michael.
sorry, sorry,
Um,
Evelyn.
That's okay. Tracy, I did not see, or Jeff, whoever, a conference room for the town hall.
So we didn't get into the town hall, the town offices floor plan because we were focusing on council on aging. But suffice it to say, there's multiple conference rooms, meeting rooms on the second floor for town. meeting.
I'm talking about like if you have your monthly town meeting. I guess what I'm asking is, would the multi-purpose room for the council be used for the town hall also?
So we discussed it, and I think what we determined, Tracy and I determined that we had enough diversity on the second floor for meeting space for regular hearings and Board of Selectmen meetings that we probably would not use the multi-purpose room on a regular basis. But if there was a particular topic, it was known to be, hot button issue where the overflow capacity was expected, then that could be used for those types of meetings. Because the rooms on the second floor would not be as big as the room on the first floor.
Okay, and another question, I was interested when this concept was developed, because the last time I talked, when we had an expansion committee meeting, there was no mention of town hall going into 25 High Road.
This is the first time I'm hearing of it too, Evelyn.
I was told there was no plan. I asked, do you have an idea for us? Do you have a plan for us? And I was told there was no plan. I'm just curious.
And actually, that question was asked multiple times.
I don't think I'm understanding the question. You didn't expect town hall to go back to that site?
I did not know what was going back, but there was no indication that they were going back, and there was no indication that we were being considered for that.
Maybe I don't recall correctly, but I thought there was a conversation that the expansion committee wanted to the first step was to even understand if it could fit there.
That's correct. That's correct.
So that's what this is, to understand if it was even feasible to fit there.
This is fitting the program into the space to see if this is a feasibility or not. It's not a hard plan. What we're really looking at right now are just boxes on a piece of paper that we can move around, and see if this is something that will work or if it won't.
Right. I think the purpose of our work here is simply just to give you information to be able to discuss and consider. It's not a final proposal.
Okay. But right now, I guess that's all the questions. Thank you for everyone for answering them.
And I'm not sure who is next, but Geraldine, I think we haven't heard from you yet, so why don't you?
Yeah, quick question. The room that's labeled EMR, what does that stand for?
Yes, it's a elevator machine room. So that what runs the elevator.
Okay, good enough. And you indicated that this is the construction cost. I assume the current building would need to be demolished, so, and removed. Do those construction costs include the demolition and removal of the old building?
No, it does not. It wouldn't take, as you might imagine, wouldn't take a whole lot to remove that building. So I don't expect a big cost for that, but it does not incorporate that.
Okay, okay. And when you say not a big cost, what's not a
You're gonna
big
try to
cost?
pin me down, huh?
In your,
So I have no idea. It's not more than $100,000. It's not less than $10,000, but it's somewhere between the two. Probably right in the middle. But it's a wood frame building. There's not a lot to it. It'll come down pretty quick. Most of the cost will be in actually picking it up, putting it in a dumpster, and carting it out.
okay, but I'm correct in assuming it would have to be demolished and
Correct.
removed?
Yeah, this plan assumes that building is no more.
Okay, okay. I don't have any other questions other than those.
Okay,
Thank you.
Joyce?
Yes, my question is, worst case scenario, because we all love outdoor spaces. How many parking spaces would fit in that 800 square feet that's been set aside? Is that accessible to parking?
Yeah,
Or
so
is-
good question. So what we did here was simply just omit parking spots so that we could provide an exterior space for the patrons of the Council on Aging. If we didn't do that, you'd just have parking here. And I think there's probably, 4 or 5 parking spots that could fit there.
Okay. That's not a big find.
No,
Thank you.
You're sure welcome. Janine?
Well, Joyce just asked my parking question, so thank you, Joyce. But
You're
I a couple more. So any after-hour meetings, say hearing meetings or whatever at Town Hall, people coming in after hours would have access to the inside of the Council on Aging. Is there any way to close that down? I mean, I'm just thinking of people having access. The door's going to be open. People are going to come in and out. What are people going to be able to access on that first floor? That's one.
That's a great question. So right now, where the elevator is located is in the reception area of Council on Aging. And that was done for a couple of reasons. One, because we wanted to save some space, and a lobby in the elevator just duplicated with the lobby that's already there, and Council on Aging made sense. Number two, there would be somebody most of the time manning this desk or out in the reception area as a greeter. And the town actually could use somebody like that as in a general way to greet people when they came to the town offices anyway. So it seemed to be a 2-for-1 benefit. However, that being said, there's certainly a way to do this plan and move that elevator closer to or directly off the main vestibule so that you wouldn't have to actually enter into the Council on Aging area. You could just have a choice to go up the stair or hit the elevator before you entered into Council on Aging. It would be probably, in my opinion, less friendly way to enter the town offices, but it certainly could be done. But that's probably, if you were really concerned with people from the public entering Council on Aging to get to that elevator, that's what would probably have to happen.
Well, we don't know, if the door's open, people coming and going, you don't know who's gonna get in there. So, the other question I had was access into the kitchen. I only see that you can access the kitchen from the multi-purpose room.
Yeah, so the assumption there is that you could come in this back corridor here through the door in the pantry and then come through the pantry into the kitchen.
Oh, I missed that one. Good, thank you. Because I was like, I only see the one entrance, one, if you've got a fire or something in a kitchen, I'm thinking, safety wise and whatnot. Okay, no, there are two accesses. That's perfect. Thank
Okay.
you.
Great,
That's all I have. Thanks.
no problem. Looking who else? There's still a few more hands up. Mike,
Yeah.
your hand up for a while.
Okay, real quickly, let me just get my notes real quick. Hold on. So, has there any, and this is real early. So if you had more room, Jeff, at that location, would it make things more easier? Okay, here's what I say. Has anyone given consideration to the next door neighbor about talking to him about selling and taking, there's a lot right next door. And that's why nobody's gonna have that answer. Okay, also, since I didn't know we were doing a combination building until this afternoon, can you forward me the second floor plans? So I can just see what's going on?
Yeah, I'm happy to, I'll let Tracy decide how things
Well,
need to be
I'm-
distributed,
I'm-
but I think we've done it. It's prepared, it's ready to go. So
Right.
whatever the town
I
wants
would
to
like-
share. That's,
I would like to, but we're selectmen. I think I get to see it now. So if you can
right.
send it to me. please.
I know the purpose was to talk about council on aging. This is the
Right.
floor plan
But
for
I just
the,
want to see the
town
whole
office.
package, Jeff. That's all I'm asking. Can I see the whole package? Because I haven't seen it yet.
this is the floor plan for the town offices.
Right, but once again, can you send it to me because I haven't seen them yet?
Yeah, I'll send it to
Thank you.
whoever you guys want me to send it to.
Thank you.
I
Thank
think
you.
Tracy has it, so.
All right, so can Tracy send it to me?
Happy to send it to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and then in terms of the property that's up there, I'm not sure what the grade change is here. I don't know if it's flat or not. I assume it is, but I also know there's wetlands in here. And I'm not sure how much that would impact our ability to expand onto that property. In terms of extra land, whether it be useful to us, certainly more parking would probably be useful. In terms of the program, the actual building components, we've managed to fit everything in a nice package here, apart from the possible interaction between the elevator and the stair going up to town office area from Council on Aging, which I think can actually be solved within this footprint. I don't know that the building itself needs to be larger.
Right, but I'm talking about parking maybe.
Yeah, I think that would be the biggest, the only reason to expand it would be to add more parking.
Also, Jeff, on that property site right now, there's the old septic field for the police station. Is that a major problem taking that out, or is that, that's gonna have to come out?
Yeah,
Okay, so is that a big expense or not?
that is, it's hard for me to answer that question. Big is relative. It's not included in the construction cost right now, but it would.
I'm saying there's a lot of other,
It's
besides the
digging
cost,
dirt.
besides the cost of the building, cost of taking down, cost of product going through the roof. This is not gonna be a cheap project.
Well, that state of the construction market right now, I'd say is, it's
Crazy.
a pretty crazy market right now.
Right, it is.
Everything's all over the map.
Right, so, Just-
And I do think we have to remember, right now, we're just looking at a concept. We're trying to answer whether or not this site could accommodate the building that we had talked about potentially. We're not near cost projections. The select board hasn't even talked about this site versus alternative sites. Do we want it here? Do we want it somewhere else? So, although these are all really great questions and we all have the same ones, I think we're a little premature. This is just, will that site accommodate this? So that's what we're looking at right here. And Selectman Doyle, also to your question, we have approached the neighbor on multiple occasions and he was not interested in selling.
okay,
Just so
that kills that bird.
Yep,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Evelyn, did you have another question?
I do. I don't know if this is the right time to ask it. But this project, even if it was a go, is like probably, I won't live to see it done. We need to, the expansion committee needs to talk about what we're going to do for the Council on Aging in the interim. So I guess that just means we need to have another meeting of our expansion committee and talk about this and talk about what we can do to help out the COA for in the time being.
Excellent point, Evelyn.
It's not the time now, though, is it, Joyce?
Right now, I would say not right now. This was just to look at this proposal and, but we know we probably have a year or two.
At
And
least.
at least, and it would be nice to have someplace else so that Cindy can actually run a COA, but we have to see too with the pandemic when they're going to open everything up again. But it would be nice to be ahead of the game.
Can I
With
ask
some-
one more question? What if the COA does not join this project? What is the timeline for the, for the town hall to go back there?
Really, this is the stepping stone for that, to see these needs have come forward, concurrently. Town hall's been in the pipeline for a few years. We all know we need some type of permanent solution. There is basically, this is conceptuals. Again, we're moving pieces of paper around in boxes. There is no hard timeline. I mean, ideally, if this was a workable project, I think we could be moving into it in 3 years. And that's part of why this layout appeals to me. It's something that everyone involved will survive and be able to get to enjoy. It puts our town back as one. I feel, I think it's really important that the Greens are civic center. We're a almost 400-year-old colonial community. And I think, a big part of, politics today and the way the world is we lack togetherness. And I miss the old days of, you go into town hall and we weren't split on 2 floors and, everyone isn't all pushed apart. I think, having the COA and in town hall together, as our population seems to be trending older, I see mostly positives. So as far as a hard timeline for town hall to get back there, I mean, there is none, but every time we re-sign our lease, it becomes more expensive to stay where we are, and we're slowly creeping up on $180,000 a year to be where we are over in Byfield. The town's already paid to bring sewer and water to the site, so that solves a problem of a septic or a water source. If we were looking at other sites to do these things, sharing an elevator, I know it's really boring, but the synergies that our town hall committee spoke to, as you delve into the process, they really matter. And sharing the elevator, sharing the HVAC systems. I know we've discussed today a lot of, the things outside of the construction costs that we'll have to pay for, but there are also, by combining, there are a lot of things that we're going to save money on, and that's important to keep in mind too. So that's why this project appeals to me. Community, character, community togetherness, synergies, ways we can save money. It is funny to think about that site being leveled and the old septic system gone, with, in a little different layout where you come down Morgan Ave and bang a left and you exit a little bit away from the dangerous intersection, that we used to. But there are a lot of positives here, and something just feels right about putting the town there, and also, our roots with the Council on Aging. I think it'll open up communication between our town boards and committees and the COA. I mean, they'll be first on the scene for everything that's going on down there. I think I think it can be a really healthy and successful arrangement. That's all I got.
Thank you. I have my hand raised,
Okay.
but I just wanted to say that with the COA and the town hall being together, I think that's the quickest way we're going to get a new home. But I don't know, like I say, how long is it going to take? And if it has problems and doesn't get welcomed by the town meeting, I think something has to be done for another location to, while we're waiting for the Council on Aging building to be built. And I'm hoping that when Tracy and the selectmen are reviewing everything, they might spend a little time talking about that. That would be very helpful if we could have more space in the interim. So thank you.
Jody?
Yes. Can you give us a figure if we were to take that first floor and cut it off from town hall, and let's say we put it beside the round school because the town owns property over there? How much would it be for if we built a standalone Council on Aging building?
It's the thing you have to keep in mind on that, Jerry, is I know there are a lot of wetlands issues
Okay.
over by the school. So comparing the two sites isn't necessarily apples to apples. So that is a tough one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well,
I would say that
good piece of property to put it on. What would the fees be?
from the standpoint of the building, there wouldn't be as much change. If you just look at the floor plan, you already include trash, recycling, mechanical, electrical, custodial space. So in terms of the space on that first floor, if we just said it's 9,500 square feet built somewhere else, it would probably cost the same dollar value, with the exception that JR mentioned an important point. It doesn't include any additional site costs. So if the site was equal to what we have now in terms of it's a fairly minimal amount of land, not extensive amount of site work, replicating wetlands or really dealing with a lot of troubled issues, then it would be closer, but you're probably going to be adding costs if you get in a more complicated site. The other thing to keep in mind is that a town hall project would then need to add things like mechanical, electrical rooms, trash recycling, custodian, all the other stuff that now the COA has taken away from this building. So the 9,500 that we have on the second floor would expand to a larger amount of space. So you'd be building more space for the town hall if you separated. So the two projects in combination, built separately, would be clearly more expensive to the town.
Okay, thank you.
I think, Ellen, do you still have your hand up from before? Or do you have a new question?
I have a new question.
Mine was from before.
Okay, sorry, Mike, I think you're next.
Okay. So I highly ask all my fellow board members to come down different times of the days and sit in the parking lot and watch the traffic down here, especially around 4 o'clock when the butchery starts cooking. Okay, Saturday mornings when the bank and the butchery are cooking, the traffic is very, very heavy now. Then you had people going, High Street's a nightmare. And then you got people coming out of Parker Street. You got people coming out of Morgan. So I want people to, before they consider this site, to spend some time and look at the traffic patterns that I've lived. Okay, and I've seen get worse. The other thing is, Jeff, did I hear you right? The cost to build just the COA is the same value as the cost to build a first and second floor?
Per square foot.
Okay, right, per square foot. So what's the cost to build just the COA roughly?
So it would be the same, like 525 times the 9,500. So I mean, it actually goes up a little bit because we can build a smaller building. It's a little bit more expensive.
So ballpark, what is it? I don't have a calculator.
Well, keeping in mind that the site, if the site is not more complex than this,
Mhm.
a little over $5 million, 5.2 million
Okay.
for
thank you.
construction costs. But you have to add in more site complexity if you're at a different site.
Exactly. I understand that. So thank you. All right, I'm all done questions. Thank you.
Jeff? Jeff, did you have a question?
Yeah, I would really like to thank everyone. This really gives us a lot to think about. It gives us the spatial concepts and I think this has been, I know some people have looked a little at it before, but right now I'm really looking at it and I appreciate being able to do that. Thanks, Jeff, for putting this together.
Certainly.
Could I ask that we come back to a group? We really don't need the picture anymore. If we could have just the group in front of
Yeah,
us.
You
good
got it.
point. Thank you.
Any other questions? I still see some hand raised, but I'm not sure if they were raised from before.
Jerry, do you have another question?
No, I don't. I'm sorry if that was me. I'll
Okay.
lower my
Evelyn?
hand sign, sorry.
Evelyn, do you have another question?
I've got a lot of questions, but now's not the time.
Okay, we were just asking because your hand's up, so
Oh, sorry. I
Alrighty.
don't know how to put it down.
that's okay. We'll just ignore it.
All right. Well, great. I appreciate everybody's time today to go through the plans. And obviously, if there are additional comments, I think you all know who to send them to, and I'll get them eventually. And be happy to see where this goes.
Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Have a good afternoon.
Thank you.
you.
Bye now.
Bye.